the Family Realty team, and today we're going to be talking about why we aren't headed for a housing crash. If you're holding out hoping that the housing market is going to crash and bring home prices back down, here's a look at what the data shows. And spoiler alert, that's not in the cards. Instead, experts say home prices are going to keep going up. Today's market is very different than it was before the housing crash in 2008. Here's why. It's harder to get a loan now, and that's actually a good thing. It was much easier to get a home loan during the lead up to the 2008 housing crisis than it is today. Back then, banks were different. They had different standards, making it easy for just about anyone to qualify for a home loan or refinance an existing one. Things are different today. Home buyers face increasingly higher standards from mortgage companies. This graph uses data from the Mortgage Bankers Association to show this difference. The lower the number, the harder it is to get a mortgage. The higher the number, the easier it is. The peak in the graph shows that back then, lending standards weren't as strict as they are now. That means lending institutions took on much greater risk in both the person and the mortgage products offered around the crash. That led to mass defaults and a flood of foreclosures coming onto the market. There are far fewer homes for sale today, so prices won't crash because there were too many homes for sale during the housing crisis. That causes home prices to fall dramatically. But today, there's an inventory shortage, not a surplus. This graph uses data from the National Association of Realtors and the Federal Reserve to show how the months of supply of homes available now, shown in blue, compares to the crash. Today, unsold inventory sits at just 3.0 months supply. That's compared to the peak of 10.4 months supply back in 2008. That means there's nowhere near enough inventory on the market for home prices to come crashing down like they did back then. People are not using their homes as ATMs like they did in early 2000s, back in the lead up to the housing crash. Many homeowners were borrowing against the equity in their homes to finance their new cars, boats, and vacations. So when prices started to fall as the inventory rose too high, many of those homeowners found themselves underwater. But today, homeowners are a lot more cautious. Even though prices have skyrocketed in the past few years, homeowners aren't tapping into their equity the way they did back then. Black Knight reports that tappable equity available for homeowners to access before hitting a maximum of 80% loan to value ratio or LTV has actually reached an all-time high. That means as a whole homeowners have more equity available than ever before, and that's great. Homeowners are in much stronger position today than in the early 2000s. That same report from Black Knight goes on to explain only 1.1% of mortgage holders ended the year underwater, down from 1.5% at this time last year. And since homeowners are on more solid footing today, they have options to avoid foreclosure. That limits the number of distressed properties coming onto the market, and without a flood of inventory, prices won't come tumbling down. In conclusion, while we may be hoping for something that brings prices down, that's not what the data tells us is going to happen. The most current research currently shows that today's market is nothing like it was last time. This is Miriam Gonzalez reporting from the Family Realty team. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.